Hi, my name is Francesc Peters and I'm a researcher at the Institute of Marine Sciences in Barcelona. And today I'm going to talk to you about marine production as affected by heavy storm Gloria that hit Spain in late January 2020. Now we're going to look into chlorophyll as a proxy for phytoplankton production. And the first thing to note is that phytoplankton to grow needs light, but also needs nutrients, the building blocks, the element building blocks to create biomass. And these nutrients in the upper surface mixed layer of the ocean tend to be in low supply because phytoplankton uses them, while they are in large supply in the bottom waters of the ocean. But the diffusion between those two bodies of water tends to be slow. Then there's a winter overturning that mixes the bottom layers with the upper mixed layers, bringing new nutrients into the upper mixed layers and starting a seasonal cycle which is characteristic of temperate oceans. But before going to the detail of heavy storm Gloria, I'm going to mention a couple of things that I mentioned in my abstract that also are related to marine production. And this is aerosol deposition and how it can also fuel some phytoplankton growth, especially in seas that are called low nutrient, low chlorophyll, like the Mediterranean. That means that they have very low nutrient concentrations in the upper surface mixed waters. Now you can see here there's dust storms coming from the Sahara blowing over the Mediterranean. Here you can see the North African coast, Sardinia, Mallorca, and the Spanish coast here, and this is all dust that deposits onto the surface waters of the ocean and brings in nutrient elements that fuel phytoplankton. Now, curiously, there's a large effect of these large deposition events in areas where nutrients are not so low, like in the Western Mediterranean compared to the Eastern Mediterranean, which are ultra-oligotrophic, and where deposition is kind of a little bit lower in the Western Mediterranean. Now, also I mentioned in the abstract the long-term chlorophyll trends in the Mediterranean that you can see here in terms of the rate of chlorophyll change over 10 years. Okay, one means no change, and here is positive changes, and here it's a decreasing trend. And only statistically significant points are plotted here. This for a time series from 98 to 2017. And you can see that if there's a trend, there's a slight decreasing trend, especially in the Eastern Mediterranean mostly. But if we take the years from 2013 to 2017, the more recent ones, then the picture changes. Now the scale here is now different. All the values are for a decreasing trend, and you can see that the largest decrease is in the Western Mediterranean here. And all this is probably associated to global warming of the upper surface mixed layer and making it more difficult for the surface mixed layer to entrain nutrients from the bottom layers, probably. Now, in coastal areas, we have more drivers involved. And this study is here from the Blanes area where La Tordera River also discharged. And some of these inputs of nutrients are related to storms, which resuspend material from the bottom of the ocean in coastal areas, but also brings in nutrients through river discharge when there's heavy rain. And here what we did is a cross-correlation analysis between significant wave height and different parameters in the ocean. And we saw that over time we saw a salinity decrease, and also an increase in the turbidity, an increase in nitrate and silicate, those nutrients that we were talking about, total phosphorus, and then a few days later, around 10 to 15 days after the onset of the storm or of the wave height, we see an increase in chlorophyll and then bacteria and other organisms, the microbial food web as well. So this actually led us to come up with a sort of like a conceptual model of what happens when we have a turbulence event in the ocean associated to rain event or not. You're going to have sediment resuspension, discharge, this increases turbidity, decreases salinity, nutrients increase with nutrients will fuel phytoplankton, chlorophyll, and then this will go down the food web as well. So now going into GLORIA. GLORIA is the storm that hit Spain between January 19 and 23 of this year, and was a heavy storm. It caused fatalities, 4 deaths in Catalonia, 13 in all of Spain. It destroyed bridges over rivers. It filled some beaches and promenades with sand. Here it also destroyed this pier, coastal pier, and also filled other beaches with lots of debris coming down from rivers. To put GLORIA in context, GLORIA was a very large storm that made the news, but these storms are not that unusual. From 1962 to 2019, we had about 2.4 of these storms per decade, a little bit increasing over the last decades. And if we look at wave episodes over 3 meters large in the ocean at the coastline, we have an increasing trend from 66 to 2019. So we have an increasing trend in some of these heavier storms, and they are not that unusual. But anyhow, GLORIA was a large storm. So just when GLORIA finished here, the next day we could go and sample. We could not go out with a boat because of some restrictions at our institution, but we could go to this nearby breakwater pier of the Olympic harbor here in Barcelona, and we sampled from the pier. And lo and behold, after 10 to 15 days, we saw these increases in chlorophyll related to the GLORIA storm and the input of new nutrients into the system. So the aim of the study here was to evaluate the impact of this a large storm on coastal production using satellite imagery for chlorophyll, and comparing what happened in 2020 to climatic means from 98 to 2018. And we did this at these 2 sites here in Barcelona and Blanes. Blanes affected by the river La Tordera and a little bit by the river Ter here, a little bit north, and Barcelona affected by the rivers Besòs and Llobregat. So here we have the image for the climatic mean, plus minus 2 standard deviations, 2 standard errors in Barcelona and Blanes. The pictures are quite similar, showing a high degree of synopticity, a little bit lower values in Blanes than in Barcelona. And around the seasonal peak, we have quite some variability. So depending on the year, this peak is a little bit before or after, a little bit larger or smaller. But when we superimpose the time series from 2020, we see this is very different. So this large chlorophyll peak here, owing to the GLORIA storm, and then reverting back to some normal seasonal values here. While then we have this other peak, and this is produced by this other storm that we had from April 19 to 24, which is was not as large as GLORIA by any means, but even so it produced large chlorophyll peaks, probably because the community was already at high biomass and wanting nutrients to grow, and this was putting them in, and then we had a high response of the chlorophyll of the phytoplankton community. Now, both in Barcelona and Blanes, these time series for 2020 are significantly larger in values than the climatic time series. Okay. So now from this time series here, from the areas under the curves of chlorophyll, we can calculate this integrated chlorophyll both for the 2020 events or the whole period for 2020 from January 1st to June 30, or for this only peak here for the GLORIA event. And that's what we did. Here's the chlorophyll integration for the 2 sites here, Barcelona and Blanes, for the period of affected by the GLORIA storm from January 22nd to February 15. This would be the climatic average, integrated chlorophyll for the climatic average, and this is for the year 2020. Okay, so you see it's higher, and this would be the difference in integrated chlorophyll. Now the same exercise we did for the whole period from January 1st to June 30. This would be the integrated chlorophyll for the climatic year, and this would be for 2020. Again, it's larger, and this is the difference. So one of the first things we did with this difference here is to estimate not chlorophyll but total phytoplankton biomass with some assumptions here of carbon to chlorophyll ratios, dry weight, water content, and also we did this up to or out to 200 meter water depth, but only considering the 30 meters, the upper 30 meters along the Catalan coast. So then we come up with these figures here for the GLORIA event or for the whole first semester of 2020, which is either for the GLORIA event is 640,000 tons of phytoplankton biomass, and for the whole semester or first semester of 2020 would be 1,260,000 tons of phytoplankton biomass, and this is just in excess. This is just the biomass in excess of a regular climatic year. Okay. Now we can convert this into fish larvae and small pelagic fish, assuming there's a step between phytoplankton and between phytoplankton and fish larvae going to zooplankton, and coming up to about 6,400 tons of fish larvae and small pelagic fish in excess, owing to the GLORIA storm here. And if we take the first semester of 2020, it would be about 12,600 tons of fish larvae and small pelagic fish in excess to a regular year. Okay, so now to put this figure into context, we can see that the total fish and shellfish catch for 2019 along the Catalan coast was 25,600 tons. So this is a remarkable figure. That is the excess for this 2020 compared to the total catch of 2019. So there's a potential for these effects of GLORIA going to phytoplankton and up the food chain to affect the fisheries production along the Catalan coast. So this is what the point we wanted to make and wanted to say. So thank you very much for your attention.